Hi, Wolfgang.
Hello.
Hi. I would like to introduce you to our viewers. Wolfgang Sporrer is adjunct professor at Hertie School and also former senior OSCE official. Wolfgang, Restart Initiative and Hertie School together are working on quite interesting project, which is about economic connectivity between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And this project is exploring the ways how Azerbaijan and Armenia can benefit from cooperation in the area of transport, energy, water management, trade, and other areas. Um, you know, I want to ask you, how do you see, as someone who moderates these meetings of top experts from Armenia and Azerbaijan, how do you see the benefits that, let's say, cooperation in the field of transport, energy, water management, and trade can bring to Azerbaijan and Armenia? What is there really something that Azerbaijan, Armenia can gain from this cooperation?
Thank you, Emin. I'm very happy to be here with you, and that's a good question. So, what I would like to say to this is that Armenia and Azerbaijan, in the project you were talking about, are exploring what a potential peace dividend could all be about. Now, we do not have just yet full peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Thus, we also have no full cooperation on transport, on energy, on water management, etc. But the dialogues that we run, and some of which I moderate, is all about exploring the potential for such cooperation and kind of pointing out the benefits that could actually be there if such cooperation would exist. Because it's obvious that Azerbaijan would benefit from the establishment of a safe and secure transport link between Azerbaijan and Nakhchivan. It is obvious that Armenia would benefit if there were certain other links to the outside world opened and borders becoming borders of trade and of crossing instead of borders of military fronts and closure. So the potential of benefits is very clearly there. Now, our dialogues are there to really make these benefits concrete, to say, look, if we had a political understanding that simply these things could be done, what would that mean? That would mean the opening of these 1, 2, 3 concrete transport corridors, enabling an XYZ number of tons of goods to be shipped worth an increase in GDP, a reduction of poverty. All of this I call the peace dividend. And I think what is important in our dialogues is to really demonstrate that peace dividends are there really on both sides. When I talked about the transport corridor or a transport links between Azerbaijan and Nakhchivan, I think that Azerbaijan could also profit from cooperation in the water sphere with Armenia. So I think there is something in this potential peace there. There is a peace dividend that just needs to be harvested, and to make the content and shape of this harvest very concrete. That is, I believe, the goal of the project. And it is, and the countries, because that was your question, what's the main interest of the countries? The countries also would like to, the countries will also profit from actually knowing concretely how large, of what nature, in what time frame, and how exactly this peace dividend can occur. And even more importantly, who will be there to actually help Armenia as well as Azerbaijan to reap those peace dividends.
What are the difficulties in this kind of dialogue? Because, you know, from first sight, of course, opening all, you know, transport routes, Armenia, Azerbaijan, I don't know, or Armenia, Turkey, like it would be so logical, right? And still, there are sometimes different visions or different perspectives on how this, let's say, routes need to be opened. Where do you see the different perspectives, and is there a possibility to kind of, let's say, specifically in transport, because we had dialogue, right, between top Armenian Azerbaijan experts on transport. What is specifically, how specifically this transport dialogue can happen? What are different positions and how they can be aligned? Why there is just not simple way of just opening all the routes, and what are the obstacles, let's say, specifically in transport dialogue, and how they can be solved in your view? You know, listening to Azerbaijani and Armenian experts, how do you see, like, hopefully once the peace agreement is signed, how do you see that we can move in that direction? So,
well, the obvious problems come, in my opinion, from three sides. The first one I would call the side of high politics, and this is that high politics has a tendency to interfere in experts' dialogues. It interferes through extraneous events like border clashes. It intervenes through a lack of trust. It intervenes through rhetoric that is being exchanged on a level totally different from the dialogues that we actually have. So that's one thing. The one thing is the interference of high politics. The second thing is, of course, and I mentioned that already as a symptom, but is something that these dialogues are actually actively working on. And this is the lack, respectively, the re-establishment of trust. That the sides will actually be able to take what the other side says at face value, give them the benefit of a certain kind of doubt, that that statements are done in good spirit, that are done in good faith. You should not forget there is a 30-year, you can argue much longer, history of mistrust and hatred between many people on both sides. Now, I think within our group, we're about to establish this level of principled trust, but this level of principled trust can is needed on a much broader scale to make this happen. And the third side, from which of course problems happen, and this is not unique to this setting, is that the devil is of course always in the details. Yes, to have a principled agreement on opening transport corridors for Armenia versus re-establishing some kind of transport link between Azerbaijan mainland and Nakhchivan, that seems easy to agree upon. When you then look at what exact transport link, how much money which would require, how exactly the nature of this transport link between Azerbaijan and Nakhchivan should be, who should provide security, should it be rail, should it be road, what should it be, how should it be organized? What about the role of Turkey in all these transport links? So this is why this takes time and cannot be decided just like this. But I want to emphasize that these dialogues are precisely there to get us towards this level of detail. And once this level of detail by experts on all sides is coupled with a certain level of trust on both sides, that they take the facts from each other, experts accept experts. This is the moment we are getting to, and this is a very hopeful moment. And I think it's already a hopeful moment, as in our transport dialogue, when we have Armenian and Azerbaijani experts standing there arguing with each other over a map, but not arguing over politics, but arguing over, how many meters need to be reconstructed here and how many meters need to be reconstructed here, etc., etc. So these are the moments we actually strive for in these dialogues, and we're achieving these moments. It takes time, it takes effort, it needs perseverance, it needs a certain type of resilience by all sides, but we are very much getting there.
Okay, let's on the example of energy dialogue, which is is one of the dialogues that we are planning to organize very soon. What is there, like, let's take this area of energy. What is there for Armenian and Azerbaijani experts to discuss? Like, what are the issues? How, again, discussion and ideas in discussing this cooperation, what can Armenia and Azerbaijan gain from it? Like, what is your perspective? What are the benefits there for Azerbaijan and Armenia?
In the energy sphere, both countries have to profit a lot from added cooperation. But I would like to point out the background here a little bit, and this is that, of course, the entire situation in the South Caucasus, and that includes Armenia and Azerbaijan, and includes energy, has been fundamentally reshaped by the changed status of Russia in the context of the Ukrainian war. As we've seen, arguably Russia is scaling back its ambitions in the Caucasus. It has been very surprisingly to many, surprisingly passive in its support of its CSTO partner Armenia, which Armenia wanted. It has reportedly drawn down its peacekeeping troops in the territories in the region, and this, of course, because energy is politics, this offers all kinds of possibilities for changed settings and changed cooperation patterns. I mean, first of all, we have to talk about gas. Now, it's been very clear that Azerbaijan and Europe will want to cooperate more closely on natural gas exports, which could include gas only from Azerbaijan, other gas from the Caspian region, but there also need to be ways to export this gas in the European direction. So this is one factor that plays in here. The other factor is that Armenia is at the moment with its natural gas consumption very dependent. Azerbaijan could help to mitigate this dependence if there were cooperation. There is various energies, not only gas. There is various ways to cooperate in the sphere of energy in the field of hydropower. As you know, Armenia has large water resources, and as you also know, that particularly certain border regions of Azerbaijan, including regions of Karabakh, close to the Armenian border, are suffering from electricity shortages because of certain problems with local power plants that have been present through the last couple of years already. So various exchanges of energy, a free flow of gas, of electricity in this region could, of course, have a very beneficial impact on not only on Armenia and Azerbaijan, but on the entire region.
Wolfgang, I would like to come to the topic of impact of Russia-Ukraine war on Azerbaijan-Armenia-EU relations. How do you think this war has changed or is changing the EU's relationship with Azerbaijan and Armenia?
Well, I believe that what we see in terms of Russia's changed role is largely a change in perceptions. It's a change in, I mean, Russia, in terms of what they are physically doing, they're doing pretty much the same thing as they used to do before the Ukrainian war. But what has changed is the perception of what they could and would be ready to do in the region. First of all, I think weapons exports from Russia to the Caucasus region have, if they have happened in the past, this is not so clear, may have completely ceased by now because they need their weapons themselves. The security guarantees that in principle go to, were extended to Armenia as a member of the CSTO. I think the mood to rely on security guarantees is not so high anymore in CSTO members, including Armenia, because Russian military has been severely impacted by the conflict in Ukraine. So even though we don't see it on the ground, the perception is that there is a certain Russian strategic retreat from the Caucasus region. What does this mean for Armenia and Azerbaijan relations? Well, certainly what it means.
EU-Azerbaijan-Armenia relations.
I'll be coming to the EU, is that both Azerbaijan and Armenia are probably freer now to charter their own strategic course in global policies, because so far it was very clear they had certain freedoms. Azerbaijan certainly more than Armenia, but there was always a certain caution that these freedoms should not be overstretched, because the uncertainty of how Russia would react. Now, this strategic, I would not even call it yet strategic vacuum, this perceived strategic vacuum actually gives a role to new actors, new players in the region. And here comes in the European Union, that is now taking an active role in the conflict management of the Karabakh conflict in terms of establishing a monitoring mission along the Azeri-Armenian border. Now, a year ago, I do not believe that Armenia and Azerbaijan would have agreed to an EU mission on the ground in the Caucasus. Why would they not have agreed? Because they don't like the EU? No, because they would probably have been wary of potential Russian reactions if they would agree to such a mission. That this is now possible, the EU has now established such a mission, that this is now possible, of course, reinforces the perception that Russia has only a reduced interest in the South Caucasus. So there is a perception leads to actions, which strengthens that perception, which will probably lead to more actions that will be there to fill that strategic vacuum left by Russia. Now, if it's by actors of the European Union, that is, I think, in the interest of both sides. But let's not forget that the European Union is not the only actor with a strategic interest in the Caucasus. There is many actors, some of them regional, some of them global, such as China. So what we will have to do is we will have to have a very close and careful look about the geopolitical orientation of the entire Caucasus region, including Armenia and Azerbaijan.
Wolfgang, I would like to come back to more specifically like our project or projects like ours. There are very humble attempts to bring together, Azerbaijanis, Armenians. I mean, there is government level, communication, which is supported on almost, not almost, I mean, actually on pan-European level. The recent meeting in Prague of heads of states and Macron, Erdogan, everyone involved. So there's a big attention. There is a feeling that there is a certain momentum, for peace negotiations. For me, it's interesting that since, we're working in this area very often, organized meetings, every time when there are skirmishes on the border, when there is military action, these kind of dialogues or meetings are postponed, or, there is sometimes some participants say, no, we cannot come now because it's wrong moment. What do you think? How can we decouple, like military action from a dialogue that actually aims at creating narratives and, I don't know, topics, areas of mutual understanding where, we try exactly to create something that would be alternative to military solution, and something that will become very realistic once peace agreement, is signed, or how do you think, what do you think about this? Because sometimes it's really impossible to bring people together because there is some action, on the border.
Well, I think we touched upon this topic already a little bit when we touched upon the same relationship between high politics and actual constructive dialogue in the context of the Restart and Hertie project. It's pretty much the same with these high level meetings. These are still sensitive subjects. I think there is, even if there may be some trust and some readiness to talk between the presidents, between the foreign ministers, between, certain layers of civil society, in very broad parts of the population, there is still deep mistrust. Yes, there is hatred for the respective other. Now, the process from coming from war to let's say, to a constructive peace that features cooperation also is not a process that goes within one day. So I do not see these military skirmishes to go completely away and for the peace talks to flourish and to result in full cooperation. But what I do expect is that one needs to have these talks when possible, be persistent, be resilient, be aware that there will be setbacks, but that over time, the moments of actual exchange and of dialogue will become more, or are already becoming more, and the moments of skirmishes and fighting and hatred and cussing will actually become less. And I think this is not by chance. I think that the increase in talking, the increase in cooperation is actually a cause for a decrease in military operations, even if they only occur, even if they still occur on occasions.
Wolfgang, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And hopefully see you soon.
Thank you, Emin.
Thank
Pleasure
you.
to be here.
Bye.